Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another awesome episode of Coffee Break by GVN. This is our third coffee break, Brittany. Hey.
What's crazy is like it shouldn't be crazy, but I'm like I really look forward to these days. You know what I mean? Where I'm
I
like,
do
okay, we're gonna have a good
too.
time because there's no stress to it. There's no preparation. There's no oh fuck, I didn't think of like blah 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 blah, and then I'm like feeling like I'm like grasping at straws right at the end.
And I will say, literally, there was no preparation for this one at all. Like
There was no
the
preparation.
first two coffee breaks, Brittany and I were like, okay, these are topics we're going to talk about. And for this one, Brittany's like, did we even pick topics? I was like, no,
Yeah,
no,
'cause
we
I
didn't.
sat there. I sat there and I was like, because normally, when we're doing other things, I'm like, okay, I gotta be prepared or at least halfway prepared and I was sitting there, I was like, did we talk about
Did
this?
we talk?
I don't
We
even
did
remember
not.
talking about it.
I was like so and I was telling Brittany this, and I always feel like I'm bragging when I say these things. I'm not
She,
bragging.
uh, she, she's hurting my heart.
I got early screeners for the first six episodes of the Apple TV Plus series that's coming out called Foundation, starring Lee Pace. And also that guy, I forget his name now, but remember the guy who plays like the baddie in Law and Order SVU with the paintings and shit?
That guy,
Yeah,
that guy, oh
he's
my
in it.
God,
He's
he was
really good.
scary. Oh, he was scary. Oh my God. I can't. He came up in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I was super distracted by that, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's time for coffee break. What are we gonna talk about?"
I know. I've had so much to do lately. I was like, I can sit down and have a good time. I was like, but I hadn't even thought of anything. I'm homeworking it up with college, making some programs that I don't even understand what I'm doing. But I made a program that you can enter a whole sentence and it'll tell you how many vowels are in it. So, there's that, but I don't know. It's
That's
just a lot.
incredibly useful for the future.
So incredibly
Did you
useful.
did you see the thing, by the way, about like Elon Musk wanting to introduce like a Tesla bot? Have you seen
Yes.
that?
And he's like, yeah, I made it so you could like, don't worry, you can overpower it basically because he made it like,
I've watched way too many movies where things have started like that.
did you see where Will Smith was like, I think he
Did
put
he
like
post something?
I think he did like an iRobot post like of him
Um,
from like the movie being like, I don't remember what he said or if he just posted a picture, but basically like, I was in a movie just like this and it didn't go well. Never again.
Never again. No, seriously. Like, when will we as a society learn that all these movies and all these TV shows are clearly trying to prepare us for something? You know? You know what I
We're
mean?
not listening. Like, Westworld.
What Westworld, which by the way, can I tell you that that's so random? I like completely lost interest in Westworld. Like I remember being so invested in like the first and second season. I
Oh, I
remember
remember.
and then I remember being like excited for season 3. And I think I watched the first episode and I like all of my interest for it completely dissipated. And I
It
know
was
that
gone.
yeah, and they're like currently filming the fourth season. And I'm like, I really couldn't care less. Like I really could not care less about
I can
Westworld.
think of two reasons why you don't care anymore.
Oh God, tell me.
Logan not being there anymore and Carl Strand. Those are your two reasons, Tia.
Yeah, the fact that Ben Barnes and Gustav Skarsgård aren't in it anymore definitely plays into it. But it's also the fact that it like really, to me, like jumped the ship as far like the first two seasons are taking place in actual Westworld, and then the third season's like, oh, they're in the real world, and I don't know. It's just like I don't have a desire for that. I don't know.
There's something about like I love movies and stories where it's all like in one town or kind of like Oh, what's it called? I love Deadwood.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
like I love stories where it's all one town where it's like, oh, you're
Where
gonna
it's like
constantly
centralized, you know?
yes, like or like Winona Earp or but the moment when things start going like where they can go anywhere, I feel like they have to focus so much on like the landscape and like the
Yeah.
environment that they're in that a lot of that character development starts to go out the window
So
because
many,
it's kind of
sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was just gonna say there's so many like shows that they should have maybe just been only 2 seasons. And then they just keep going, and you can tell that the people behind it like have no idea where to go. They never even thought that through. And now it's like, well, now we're at the point where these networks are giving us another season and we have no idea where the fuck to go.
I think with The Walking Dead, I think what's hard is there's so many characters that we've loved that just have gone through such like a crazy transformation that, and I know it's like, oh, character development, but like I saw a clip, and this is kind of spoiler warning just because I think it was a newer episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part where for some reason Maggie is in a tunnel with a bunch of people, and she has Negan with her,
Oh yeah.
and Negan's like, he's like basically he calls Maggie out and he's like, he goes, you don't even care about this mission. You don't even care what we're doing. He's like, you're just hoping I'm going to die on this mission, and whether it's here or not. And if I don't die here, you're going to make it look like an accident out in the field where nobody can say anything because, she's the leader of the hilltop now. And everybody else is looking at him, and he's like, and I can tell by those dumbfounded looks that none of y'all were in on this, right? And Maggie's just staring at him. I mean, we love Maggie. She's always been strong, but she is like, looks like in that scene, and I could be totally wrong because I haven't seen what leading up, but to see her so focused, I know that, he killed Glenn because that was the thing is he said, I'm living. And so Negan goes, I'm living in your head rent free. He goes, and I'm not going out on your terms. He goes, so you can either just kill me right now or we can just deal with it. He's like, because I'll be damned if I die in the muck and the grime. And he leans in, he goes, like Glenn. And fucking,
Nah, see, if
yeah,
I
yes,
were Maggie,
I
he'd be
know.
gone right in that moment. It's like, you know what? No.
I know. To be fair, they did kill a lot of his people, and
I
it was
don't
kind of
care.
I
I don't
know, and
care.
I love Glenn too, but Maggie looked like straight up like to see her a little more not unhinged, but I was like, so many of the characters, like Daryl's the one that stayed the most who he is, like in
Yeah.
touch with who he is, who is probably changed for the better. But a lot of people have not changed for the better. Like Negan's changed a little for the better.
Well, I feel
A
like
lot of them have gotten real rough. They got real rough.
The Walking Dead should have ended like seasons ago. I think
I
they
know.
were like grasping, especially when they did that time jump. Once they did that time jump, it's like, I don't know. For me, The Walking Dead is like it never touched upon the things that I thought they were going to touch upon back in the beginning. What started the freaking zombie apocalypse? Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to just gloss over that and be like, oh, well, now it's been 11 seasons. We're dealing with all this shit. We don't have, it's like, no,
Yeah.
no. And then, like, for me, the one thing I never really liked about The Walking Dead was once they came up with the whole, oh, everyone has the virus in them, so everyone becomes a
Yeah.
zombie once they die. It's like I feel as if they did that because probably some like me watching the first 2 seasons, I feel that there's probably other people who thought like me who are like, oh, why don't they just kill off all the walkers and then they can rebuild, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm sure the writers are like, oh, how do we do that? We'll say
Yeah.
that everyone has it, so it never ends. We never have to end The Walking Dead.
Yeah, but I'm like, if everybody got it, how did it happen? And also,
Yeah.
what's kind of like what I'm just now thinking of?
Mm.
Because they may pop this up later. Judas, right? Like, Not
Judith.
Judas. Sorry, not Judas. Judith.
Judith. Totally
Judith.
two
I
different
said
people.
Judas. Judith.
Judith.
It's like Judas. No, like the TikTok video. I love those.
Murder. Judas.
No, I see them doing a thing where they're gonna be like, oh, well, you see, anybody that was born after the apocalypse doesn't have the virus because it didn't get passed down to them from their parents, so they totally missed it. And then Judith gets bitten at some point, and they're like, "Oh my God, she didn't turn. Why?" And then it's like,
you know,
mark my freaking words, Tia.
a lot of
Something
people,
like that happens.
a lot of people hate this idea, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not invested in The Walking Dead anymore. So at this point, I literally kind of just want to piss the fandom off, which sounds bad. And I'm sorry, because this comes from someone who really enjoyed the show. But it's like, part of me wants for this whole thing was just a fever coma dream of Rick's, and then he wakes up.
I'd laugh my ass off.
I'd laugh my ever loving ass off. It's like all of a sudden the last thing you see Rick just open his eyes, and there's Shane, there's Lori, and they're all like there, and he's like, wait, what?
I would absolutely love that. I just want to. I don't want to see people mad, but I think it would be funny.
Well,
I think it.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I think it'd be funny because where else? Where is it gonna stop? It's either just gonna stop, or they're gonna go, oh well, you see, now we're fine with it ending. I love Negan because he's kind of the bad guy they need. He's kind of like the Shane of the group now. That's saying he's a little gruffer on things, a little more intense about things. Oh, I miss Shane. My mom liked Shane. And I was like, Mama, that's my mom.
I love Shane. John Bernthal.
I know, everybody's like, but he's such an awful person. I'm like, so? No, sure.
What's your point?
So, what's your point?
No.
Yeah, and what?
I only started watching The Walking Dead because of John Bernthal. It's like I saw Daredevil, right? And you know, John Bernthal as Frank Castle in that. And then, as Brittany knows, once I like an actor, I must watch everything in their filmography afterwards. So I was like, what else has John Bernthal been in? And I saw Walking Dead. I'm like, oh, I know that show. Everyone really likes that show. Oh, it's on Netflix. Let me try and watch it. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so into this. And I was like, oh my God, they killed Shane. No!
Judas, no!
I love that TikTok trend.
I do too. It makes me laugh so hard every time.
I brought you murder.
Yeah. Me and Molly at work, one of the girls I work with, every time we just like quote the most stupid shit at each other, and it's always TikTok. It's always like, or I'm the trash man, I eat trash, because when we're talking about trash men and like fan fiction, like, or like things that we like with fan fiction with someone, like Heisen Daddy.
You know what I realized? A lot of things that me and my friends quote are from like YouTube back in high school, which 2005, 2006, like the beginnings of YouTube, when like no one knew what the hell they were doing. And I've realized that so many videos that like we quote still to this day have been taken down. And it's like,
I know.
It's like, I don't know if that was by the artist's choice or literally it came when YouTube like apparently was just like swinging shit and like knocking everything down. But it's like I tried to look up so many of the videos that I used to, and then I even went to like those artists page who are still up, but the videos aren't there, and I'm like, my teenagehood.
What happened?
What the hell?
I know. That's how I know. Like we just talked about it too, because you just watched that documentary on it. That's how I
Yeah,
feel about Jenna Marbles. Like I felt so in tune with like her sense of humor that
yeah.
I felt like that was like an extension of myself. I was like, I want to be her when I'm older. 'Cause I still do the I want to be tall because she like sings this whole song about wanting to be tall while she like is on the piano, like not shittily, but she just hitting random keys, but it's like in the organ setting of like electric keyboard or the it's like you know that song where it's like don't what's it's like I can't remember. It's like rock your body like this, don't stop, don't miss, or something like that. She would go, don't poop, don't piss, and I don't know. It always made me laugh so hard because she would always had her own like little thing with songs, and I heard that song the other day, and all I could think of was her lyrics for
Oh
it,
my
and
god.
I was like, oh my god, I was like, she had such like an impression on me.
Well, it's like there was this not to wow. There's this YouTuber called Glow Pink Star, and she's still on YouTube just under a different name. And some of her old stuff is still there, but I want to say like 80% of her videos from back in the day are not there anymore. And she had like the funniest you remember that song by Kesha, TikTok,
Yeah.
TikTok. She had the funniest shit for that. And it's like, it's not there anymore. And I'm like, I hate YouTube. I hate YouTube taking down all these like old things. And it's like, but you know what's thankfully still on YouTube? Did
What?
you did you ever hear that guy who was like, let me borrow that top? Let me borrow that
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, shows.
shit.
That guy,
That
yeah, the shit.
that thankfully is still on YouTube. And I
Oh
sent
my
that to
god,
Brian.
good times.
No, because seriously, that was like you have to admit, like remember, and I know you also were kind of in high school, but we're like 4 years apart. So you were say like a freshman when I was a senior, and like my like generation was right there at the beginnings of YouTube. And when I tell you, like nowadays people are like, how to start a YouTube channel, do this, do that, and there's like a step by step like business,
Yeah.
plan. No one knew what the hell they were doing with YouTube back then. They were posting 15-second videos of just random shit. People are like, and this is my video, and like no one knew
Yeah.
what the hell they were doing with YouTube back then, but it made for some of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
And it's funny you bring that up because, I've so badly, and I keep putting it up. I always wanted to make YouTube videos, but I wanted to do like Let's Play.
Yeah.
And you see, like, the biggest people I always looked up to was Markiplier and Jacksepticeye with it, where they didn't have the fancy overlays, they didn't have XYZ. It was just the camera right there in the corner while they played scary games and kind of memed it by doing the zoom ins or the sound effects. And
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny. And they were the whole reason I even wanted to stream. But I realized, streaming was easier because I was like, I feel like I can be upfront with people,
Mhm.
that interaction. But nowadays, it's like, it's harder to just do like what they did. And a lot of like YouTubers like, oh, that's easy because you just play games. And I'm like, yeah, but they're entertaining. And a lot of the games that I really loved throughout the days was really because I saw them play it and I was like, I want to play it.
Well, you have to have longevity,
Yeah.
like that girl Glow Pink Star that I like mentioned, right? You go back to her earlier videos like 8 years ago, she was getting averaging like 200,000 views. She was on the car,
Jeez.
she was on like the George Mendez show, she was on like
Yeah.
she was invited to things. And she's still putting out videos to this day. They're averaging like 1,000 views. And it's like, and no disrespect to her at all. Like when I tell you she like made our high school with her videos. And so it like almost was sad for me. I was like, wait, dude, to me, I'm like, this is YouTube royalty. This is you like what why isn't she not getting the views? And it's like you have to have the longevity with things. So if you are so my point is saying people shouldn't look down on people like say Markiplier and stuff because it's like they've clearly found the formula to keep going
And there's
throughout the
always new
years.
games. People
Yeah.
want to see their favorite people's reactions to those games when they come out. Or scary games are always fun because I love, like, some of my best streams have been scary games where I'm like ugh, like just so scared, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's sad when you see YouTubers, like, to us, like, still like thousands of views per video. You're like, oh my gosh, that's so many.
Yeah.
But for them, like, like, do you know Graveyard Girl?
Oh yeah, her
Yeah,
channel like
Bunny.
died out.
Yeah, and I remember, like, she was pushed so hard. I didn't know about her, like, at first. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of people feel that way the first time they watch her. I thought she was so freaking annoying. Like,
Mhm.
I thought, I was like, oh my god, because I kept seeing commercial after commercial after, it was like a commercial at the beginning of
Yeah.
YouTube before I got YouTube Premium. But you know, um, it is really sad because I actually came to really, really like her.
Yeah.
And I would watch her, like, do her like product reviews. And then she just died out. And I'm like, and she tried so hard, you could see her struggling just to get back, trying to do things. I think she did, like, before Shane Dawson's whole thing, she did a Shane Dawson video,
Yeah.
and it helped her for a second, because it's what a lot of people were doing when they started feeling like their channel was failing. They reached out for help, to kind of, or like if they had like some big controversy, he was good at, putting them in a sympathetic light. But I just couldn't imagine just growing something that big and being so big, going to these YouTube conventions and just being like this star of it, and then just all gone. It would be really depressing.
Well, and then so she talked about before, there's this guy on YouTube, and I believe his channel is called JOON the King, and he's done several like deep dive documentaries on YouTubers. Like he did one on Leafy. He did one actually on, and I'm a big fan of Ethan Klein, but I
Yeah.
still found his documentary like really good. He pretty much does these videos of like
Yeah.
how the YouTubers were in the beginning and how they are now, and essentially those who may have been in a decline, right? So he did one on Jenna Marbles. He also did one on Boogie, and I had no idea who this guy was, right? I know. So it was interesting watching his thing. And so in the documentary, he's like, oh yeah, back in the day when Boogie first started, his videos were doing like 50,000 views, blah blah, and he had to do like a disclaimer where he goes, you have to remember back then that was going viral. And I feel like he was talking about the younger kids now who like think if you don't have like 2 million views, your video shit. And it's like,
Yeah.
back then. And I guess I realized, like, with the Glow Pink Star like girl, right? To me, I mean, we all thought that she was fucking phenomenal and that everyone knew her. But when you look back, I don't want to say only because we've never had 200,000 views here at GVN,
Yeah.
but in like the bigger spectrum of now, you're like, oh, only 200,000 views. And I'm sure they were even less back then, but to us, it was like, oh my God, everyone knows who she is. Like, everyone knows who she is. So I don't know. It is sad about these YouTubers. Like, it's hard keeping up with the times. It really is.
And that's what, like, a lot of times people always tell me, they're like, oh, you should do like YouTube guides of like a certain thing and those do good. I'm like, I get that. But I also am not, like, this is gonna sound bad. I'm trying to think. I don't feel passionately enough about something to make constant guides for it. Like certain video games where they're like, oh, do like top 10 locations to find X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of drive, but I could make you short videos about how to do OBS and how to like start with Twitch. There's little things like that, but nothing else really.
A lot of these like videos are so effing clickbaity, especially in the GTA world. You'll look up GTA and there'll be a video of, oh my God, Nico Bellic spotted in GTA 5, right? And it's the most and you click on it and it's the most clickbaity shit. And it's all with mods too. I'm like, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
Mods, And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I will say one thing, like, if a channel knows how to survive like 10 plus years, that's an accomplishment. Like, I don't like Trisha Paytas at all, but that girl's been on fucking YouTube for like 15 years. And so she has clearly like seen the writing on the wall of how to survive on YouTube, even though it's bad press. And I think I said in our last episode that I am not the whole, oh, bad press is good press type person. No, it's bad press. I don't want to be known for bad press, but I guess some people are okay with that in case Trisha Paytas.
Yeah. That is kind of hard because it's like, I feel like a lot of these older stars that I feel like all of them stay just long enough for all their bad history to come out and be like, get rid of them.
Yeah.
But I think the things with like Trisha is that she started so bad. It's kind of like the Keemstar thing. How do you cancel someone that has never that lasted off and has never changed from that? A lot of it is you see when there's somebody that did something shady in the past and then they preach a lot about it. Now people are like, blah blah blah, but you did this. Those two though is kind of like, how do you cancel someone that is proud of what they do?
I mean, again, I'm not a big fan of either of them, so
yeah,
I don't know, but they have their fans. Certainly they have their fans. Speaking about fans.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You want me to say, you want to say it?
Well, I was going to say that we could talk about like fandoms, because it's like, so all right, we're all part of fandoms, right? Like I'm part of fandoms, you're part of fandoms. Like I love the Marvel universe, so you could say I'm part of that fandom. But I think Brittany and I have both had experiences in fandoms that have been quite negative and have unfortunately put us off of things. And I'm going to let you go first with like what you would say a fandom that kind of like maybe put you off or is like doing too much.
It's too much.
It's too much. And I'm going to say a fandom that literally drove me from a show.
Oh, I think I already know it. I think one was for me is like, and it's gotten better as the show is kind of eased away, but I will say the Supernatural fandom, because me and Tia loved it and I still love the characters, but we went to a convention and I don't know if it's just because Supernatural's even made fun of their own fandom with like the conventions where they're like shipping the two brothers together and people are like, they're brothers, bro, they're brothers. But I think I have a very and I know I shouldn't chalk this all up to it because it was just one convention. Actually, you've been to 2 conventions with Supernatural, and I'm not gonna say it's for everyone. There's some people that are great with going to those conventions, and it may be every convention. They had a very strict like, don't ask for hugs because it's uncomfortable for the actors to be like, you're forced to show physical affection to people because they ask for it, and it does put you in a different predicament. And it's because just because they're guys doesn't mean they want you like to have to hug all over you. And instant always.
I just want to interject really quick before you keep going, because it's like a lot of these fans obviously have crushes on these actors. Listen, Jensen Ackles is a gorgeous man. Chef's kiss, as are so many of the guys from Supernatural. Most of them are also married, and even if they weren't married, because a lot of these fans obviously have like sexual attraction to them. So it's like, it's without consent. We are big in this world, as we should be, with consent. But you're not taking into the fact that these actors are people too, and they also deserve consent. So I want you to keep going with what you were going to explain, because I know
and I guess you could go like, oh, well, what if I asked to do this pose and they didn't say no? And I'm like, yeah, I get that, and I get their actor, but I'm like, that doesn't make it just right, because I'm a super nervous person. I'll do things that I don't want to do just because I don't want a confrontation of it or hurt somebody's feelings. And you do have a lot of younger fans. I feel deeply uncomfortable when people ask for the poses that are very like, oh, like almost prom photo, like where they want their arms like tucked
And a
around and
lot
they're really,
and a lot of them are underage and they're putting these
yeah,
actors in a really bad position.
yeah, especially like, yeah. I was just like, I extra agree on that one. But I was gonna say on the no asking for hugs,
Yeah.
I remember we were like watching the Q&As and like people instantly they just start crying and like hold out their arms to them like please hug me, and I'm like, I get that these actors have done a lot for you emotionally
Yeah.
and they have been your rock, but it, do you think that the security asked for that to not to happen, or do you think the actors collectively have been like, hey, you know, let them know? Because I've been in situations like that where they're like, oh, if you don't want something to happen, just like, you know, let me know and I'll take care of it. Like with like
Yeah.
stream stuff, like the mods are like,
Yeah.
so it's not so on me to be like the confrontational one. They're like, oh, I'll take care of it. And they're like, oh, well, she didn't say that. And it's like, yeah, she did. But I am handling it now because it makes it really hard not to hurt your feelings. You would rather hear it from someone that you don't look up to. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just like there came a, and I know this is probably like the supernatural fandom is huge. And I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not trying to offend anyone or anything. I know we sound like we're coming for people, but
this
it's like,
this is just like it's kind of like,
but as
you know
someone
when
who
they
is
say the
in the
squeaky
fandom,
wheel.
well, it's someone who is in the fandom at some point. It's my like personal frustration. And it's also like it made me feel as if I was too old to be in the fandom at some point.
Yeah, and that is the big thing because it's like me and Tia were deep in it. We were writing the fan fiction all the time. We were like wanting to do the conventions. We drove hours to go to the convention. You
We
flew.
we
You
literally
flew.
okay, so there was one convention we went to that I was visiting Brittany in Arkansas, and there was a convention in Houston, Texas. So we literally drove the 8 hours. I have never been on a road trip that long before,
I know.
but we fucking drove the 8 hours to go to a supernatural convention, and it was great. Right, I got a picture with Tom
Yeah, the
Pennicat,
actors
with
were great.
Misha Collins, Richard Spate. It was fucking phenomenal. And it's like, first of all, when I do photo ops, I'm very big of just going up, right, shaking their hand really quick, standing next to each other, and like moving the fuck on. You know,
Yeah.
I get, as you said, I get very uncomfortable when I see these fans who like want to do a thing where they're like pressing up and they're like Eskimo kisses and everything. And I'm like, that's so uncomfortable.
Or like when they really rest their head on their chest, like they're like lovers, and I'm like, stop it, stop it. I feel so bad because it probably sounds cruel, but because I know that people are like, I get so much from this. I'm like, but are you choosing your own happiness and your own kindness and your needs over another human being? Because you're pressing so much of your own wants and needs onto another person that it's like you have to have it, and it's like, is that really a correct behavior? And should we teach people that it's okay to demand this much from people? And they're like, well, the fans made them, and it's like, they're still human,
They're
they're
still human
people.
beings. It's like, I don't know. Like I feel as, first of all, after the supernatural thing, I never really felt like I got super invested in the fandom again because I was like, I couldn't be into the show anymore because of the fandom.
Yeah,
Although like the American Gods fandom was awesome. The ice
chill, so
chill,
chill.
so chill. We actually, one of our contributors, Michael, who's now a part of GVN, we met because of our love for
Yeah,
American Gods, right? And then the iZombie fandom, so amazing. So
no,
amazing, the iZombie fandom. So it's like you have these shows that do have like a really chill fandom, but for some reason with Supernatural, it's like, and I'm sorry I say this in the words of H3H3, with peace and love, um,
no,
the Supernatural fandom went really overboard a lot.
yeah. Sherlock was pretty intense too, but I
Yeah.
don't remember it as, the art could get a little intense, like the fan art could get a little
Yeah.
intense, but besides that, I don't really have a particularly negative experience.
Well, I'll tell you what to me I thought was like the most over the top theory among the supernatural fandom. So it's like, you know, that obviously there was like the shipping of the characters Dean and Castiel, which is
Yeah.
fine because I saw it too, you know. But
Yeah.
but I saw this like thing that I was like, I'm sorry, that's going too far. Where it was like people who literally thought that Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, like their wives, were just like a, it was fake. They married.
Oh yeah, that they were their covers.
They were their covers, but in
That's
reality,
fucked.
they were together, like Jared and Jensen.
That's so
And I'm
weird.
like,
that's like,
and I'm
I
like,
don't know.
that's pushing your fantasy onto real life people, and that's also being highly disrespectful for these actors who you claim to have
Yeah.
such admiration for.
Well, it's just like that one. That one's a little.
And I don't mean to get so
That's
heated.
intense.
It's just like I feel like
No, I don't blame you.
As someone who is like in the fandom, it's like finally airing out my grievances because I feel so like hesitant to say shit on Twitter about it. So I guess if this is my downfall, I'm going out swinging.
Twitter is intense. There's certain things I've seen where I'm like, it's not that serious. It's really not. And it's like, but people, they start hive minding where you get enough people that agree and you're like, well, it has to be correct. It's the correct. I'm like, and sometimes it stresses me out so much that I'm like, oh, you know, am I now where I'm such a bad person because I don't fully agree with this thing that they're saying is this big moral good, and oh, you know, screw you if you don't believe this. And then I take a breath and I go into the real world and I go, huh, people aren't actually like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know why Twitter gets it worse than anywhere else, because you don't really see it like on YouTube. You don't really see it. Like YouTube can have its flaws. You're not really seeing it on Instagram or TikTok or all these others. It's just, it gets very intense on Twitter, and I don't fully understand why.
It's very intense.
That being said,
what are you doing?
I love being on Twitter.
You're like,
I had to use my hands, and I just have a big ball of
oh
dice.
my god, she's obsessed. We can't even
I haven't even made any dice.
We can't even have a conversation without you like palming some dice in your hands. Does it comfort you?
Yes, it used to be like the Zippo lighter, remember?
Are you gonna bring like dice to New York when you come see me, or like randomly we're gonna be at a restaurant and you're just gonna like grab it out of your pocket and be like,
no, you know how I am.
Is that like your stress ball, like the squishy stress ball? You just grab some dice.
Yes. Okay. It's kind of like Aaron always like gives me hell because, well, I'll want to have people over and, you know, us hang out or us do something. But I reach like a certain point where I'm so mentally like stimulated. I'm like, I start playing on my phone, and he's like, Britt, don't be rude. And I'm like, I hear everything going on. I'm holding a full conversation. I have to have something to do with my hands. Like I can't focus any longer on this. So sometimes like when I'm talking about things, it's like I have to have like not an oral fixation. I have to have like a finger fixation. Yeah, like I have to have something. Like I need like a fidget spinner.
I need something to
fidget with.
You need like to invest in a fidget spinner, clearly.
I know, or just a handful of dice.
Oh my god.
It do be like that.
It do be like that though sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I like spoke my piece about Supernatural.
What's the one that you don't want to be a part of ever again?
Honestly, the Supernatural. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Transformers.
Yeah, them too. But I feel as if I was like, that's okay. But I feel as if I was the most upset over not being in the Supernatural fandom, because at some point I found like really cool like comfort about it. Like everyone was like so cool, and I loved like there was one New York Comic-Con. It was before you started coming.
Yeah.
Where I literally cosplayed as Castiel and like went to like
Oh, I remember that.
and like went to a supernatural meetup at New York Comic Con, and it was like really fun. It's like, and even though no one knew each other, it's like you all kind of like talk to each other. And even there was some girl, I forget her name now, but she was really cool and she cosplays really well. Where she was like, oh my god, I recognize you on Twitter and everything, you know, because we were in the same like Twitter circle, and it was like really really cool. And I feel as if like Supernatural was the one I was like most heartbroken about, that the fandom kind of like drove me out, not because of anything like I did. It wasn't a personal attack, it was just observing that I was like as you said, you know, you'd be at a, I think it was Cindy and I went to a convention in New Jersey, and to me, it was almost like manipulation tactics where they full on said, like, do not ask the cast for hugs. And then they would get up there and they would say something very emotional and things like that. And I'm not going to discredit, I'm sure that they quite feel this way.
Yeah.
But then instantly you know that the actor would probably be looked upon in a certain light if they didn't go and hug them and comfort them.
Well, they would always give like the and it's like enough that I'm telling you, when me and Tia witnessed this stuff, it's not like, oh, one or two. It was like a bunch where
every
be like
single
deep
fan.
Emotional story. And they like reach out their arms, like, and I'm not making fun. I'm just telling you, they like give like the most intense voice and like hold out their arms, and it's like, I get it that this is very emotional for you. I'm not gonna make fun of you for crying, because I'm an ugly crier. I like, you guys seen me. What's that thing where it's like, oh, you look so ugly when you cry.
Oh,
like,
from Bridesmaids.
Yeah. Like, but it's kind of like, it's just, I guess it's like, I don't want to seem heartless, because I'm not on it. Like, I understand.
I know
do try to play devil's advocate.
We're coming across like super like petty right now, but this is just the grievances of two people who were in the fandom.
Yeah, but it was like enough that we weren't the only people that feel this way, because you could see people look at each other like, okay, it's happening again. And I'm like, it's like, but it puts, it's manipulative, because if it was like I think this where it's hard is, it's like, you would feel so much different if it was guys doing this to female actresses and being like, okay, you'd be like, there's a boundary. You can't just do it because they're guys. You know what I mean?
Well, and I'll take a step further. I mean, those sort of manipulation tactics wouldn't be acceptable when people are just two non-celebrities. You know, if this was something like in a bar and someone started doing a super emotional, you know, story just for the idea of getting some sort of physical comfort from another person, it's like you would look quite down upon that. So it's like, and all I could think about, and maybe it's just my age, but all I kept thinking about was like, these are married dudes, and like, these are married dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that people should be respectful of the fact, like, okay, I'm going to take Jensen Ackles again as an example, right? He's married, he's very happily married, he has children, beautiful life. But in his acting roles, sometimes he has intimate relationships with women that aren't his wife. Those are acting roles. He's getting paid to do that.
Yeah, I was like,
these are fandoms, these are fan conventions. You know, he didn't sign up for that. He signed up for the other thing, which realistically in his contract, he could say that he doesn't want to sign up for that. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, it rubbed me such a wrong way. And the second convention I went to at Cindy, like, I swear to God, every person who was there to ask a question to Mark Shepard didn't even ask a question. They were just doing some emotional story that obviously resulted in a hug. And so I don't know. I didn't like it.
I think another part was, it was like also the tears would instantly turn off after the hug. Like it would be like instant. Like and a lot of them it's like we're like there was sometimes it was just like little kids and I'm like that's acceptable. Like not
Yeah.
acceptable, you know, you don't have the emotional maturity to handle and
Right.
this is someone that means a lot to you and I understand. But it's like when you have people bordering on adulthood, you're kind of like okay,
You
you know
need
what I
to know
mean?
better. I
But I think like really quick, I think
yeah.
what it makes me think of too is when I was in high school, there was this guy that always made me deeply uncomfortable. And he always would like want hugs or want to be like, oh, because he would see how I was like my gal pals. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, and he would try to get all weepy because a lot of times if I'm a very non-huggy person with somebody, if they are very emotionally upset, I will break that rule to comfort them and I'll hug them because I'm like, this is like a thing. But
Yeah.
when I start noticing that they're kind of getting extra weepy about something and like to be hugged, and I remember he was making me so uncomfortable that which leads into a deeper story in my adulthood of how he just got even worse. But I remember it was like the last day of school and he's like, you know, this may be the last day we ever like yeah, because I wasn't feeling good and I had my head down. He's like, this may be the last day we ever see each other ever again, and it'd just be it's like because he was wanting me to like hug and hold on him and
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, maybe the last day we ever see each other. Well, I gotta go. Bye. Like, because it's like it is deeply uncomfortable because you do feel bad if you don't give them what they want of like, oh, I feel like such a dickhead. But it's also like you have to choose your own comfort over other people's
Well,
sometimes.
your boundaries should be respected. Like for me, I'm not really an overly huggy person. Ask
Yeah,
Brittany. Brittany's like the only person that I'll
I
actually like
know.
hug. But like Cindy and I have been best friends since we were both 14. And still to this day, sometimes we see each other and it's like, hey, you know, hey,
Yeah,
yeah, or bye, and
yeah.
it's like it's just because I'm not really a huggy person. I don't find like I don't need to cuddle every single freaking person. Sorry. I'm throwing that out there.
I feel attacked. No, I'm just joking. No, I agree. Because, you know, one thing I do regret is like I've had friends when I was little that were very non-huggy people, and I was just very insistent because I was like, oh, my friend. And now it's still funny. The one friend, you know, I'll leave her unnamed, but she still to this day is like, I'm like, is it okay if I hug you? And she's like, that's never stopped you before. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, I'm an adult now and I know
Yeah.
you're not huggy. And she's like, no, she's like, honestly, you're the only person I let like hug me. And I'll come here. She's like, you're so cuddly. And I was like, okay, thank you. But I just know I respect your space now because I'm an adult and I know better.
And I sometimes think that with like some fans, where if it's just something that needs to come with age, that sort of
No, I
realization
agree.
of I'm interested in seeing like I know I keep using Jensen Ackles, but let's be fair, Jensen Ackles was like the hot commodity of the supernatural conventions. I
Truth.
I would be interested in seeing what the difference is once he's on the boys. Like, will people still act that way to him? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, he's about to hit like a supernatural has always been mainstream and super popular, but being a part of a TV show, say on the CW, is going to be a lot different than being like on a big, big show like The Boys. And I know it's like hard to compare them, but it's like The Boys escalated to like supernatural level in the first season.
And
You
the
know what I
fact that
mean?
his character is going to be a villain. His character is
Yeah.
going to be a bad guy in it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be nice to, and I think another thing is, do you maybe sometimes feel the pressure to do things you don't want to because in something like Supernatural, fandom is your bread and butter, like the con
That is
because
very
that's
true.
about the renewal. But with a show like The Boys, it's not on the backs of just two people to keep it going. It's a whole freaking cast
Yeah.
where it's interchangeable.
Yeah, and it's funny, it's like when I was super into Supernatural, I used to sit there and say like it's not just the brothers, it's
Yeah.
Castiel, it's
They
Crow-
killed everyone.
it's Crowley. But then once I got out of the fandom, I'm like, that show really survives on the backs of Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki.
Yeah. What's bad is like I sense everything with like the drama between them. There's some people that are straight up ugly about Jared Padalecki. I'm like,
but they already like squashed that, you know. But of course, you know, some
yeah, but they
fans are
still like TikTok. TikTok. Do you know how much like people like animating like putting lice in his hair like
oh
to
my
make it look like because they
God.
said his hair's so long and greasy, and I'm like, damn, son. I was like, you ain't gotta go that hard, Jesus.
I don't see, that's the thing is like with Twitter, like text messaging, it's hard to decipher someone's intentions with their words. So it's like, who's to say that Jared Padalecki was that butthurt about it, you know? And even if he was, they're adults. They've known each other and been friends for years. They even said they had a conversation off screen. They're good. And even if they're
Yeah.
not good, and even if they're not good, it's never anyone else's place to, you know, be that crazy. I'm just gonna say
No, I
that.
agree. I agree. I think but you know, and it may not just, it's not even just supernatural thing. I just think it's hard. Um, it's a very this sounds bad because it's not just teens, but teendoms. Like that's like ones that
Teens.
really go that really um cater to like people coming into an adulthood that really get so fat. Like sometimes it gets borderline unhealthy, but that is the thing. It's like, you know, from my mom, you know, it was the rock bands and
Yeah.
you know, wanting to be a groupie and stuff. And it's like, you know, in the fervor that came from that, it's like there's always something that's going on. It's not a new thing.
No, not
Because
at all.
but and that's I guess where I feel bad. I'm like, I understand. But also we're kind of reaching an age where certain things are becoming unacceptable and becoming more mainstream to not be acceptable. And I think sometimes age and mental maturity can only get you so far when it comes to being physically affectionate with someone that may feel pressured to be that way.
Yeah. I guess the moral of the story is consent is important, even if they're
Yes.
actors.
Even
Especially
if they say yes, but keep in mind you are crying.
so
Like,
there is a degree of pressuring someone into that. They don't want their
yeah.
public image fucked because their public image is everything. By the
Yeah,
way, super off topic, but of course you're in your like streaming room and it looks awesome.
yeah.
I look like I'm about to make a confession. Like,
Oh my God. Confess your sins to me, Tia.
have you seen that TikTok trend? It's so funny, and the fucked up thing is I know exactly what like the soundbite is from, but the TikTok trend is it'll be like this husband and wife, and the husband will be like, God, why didn't you pick up anything? Do you do anything all day while I'm at work? And then like it'll cut to like the woman being in like a confession and the soundbites like of course it's like I led him into a building and I murdered him. It's like, but
have you
it's
seen
so
when it's like I don't know what they said they actually like he couldn't walk. He's
yeah,
like
that's the one.
just fine.
That's the one
yeah,
I'm talking about. And I know what that soundbite's from because I've watched the actual confession from the actual killer. And that woman was cold. I don't know if I can even say that. This is gonna like have to like age restrict this freaking video. But that woman, I won't say anymore. I'll say it off air. That woman was that woman was cold in what she was describing. I was like,
no. Men killers terrify me. Women killers terrify me even more because they're so rare. Because they all.
Yeah, I watched the actual confession with that woman like before it was a TikTok trend. So when it became a TikTok trend, I'm like, are they really using this woman's soundbite? Oh my God. I hope people realize That's not a joke. That's not like a goof.
I
That
thought
woman-
it was a joke.
that
I
woman's
thought it was a joke.
That woman's in prison right now for the rest of her life. I'm gonna send it to you.
Send it to me, girl.
I'm gonna send it to you. Oh my god, my mom just texted me the news about the next Expendables. Megan Fox is gonna be in it. Her like
I saw that.
is like here.
Your Beautiful Man was in it too, isn't he?
Which one? I have so many.
Oh my god. God, I can't think of his name because his last name was like Lundgren. Like,
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Lundgren.
Did you know? So I love Dolph Lundgren so much. Like he played the Russian in the fourth Rocky, which to me is the superior Rocky. And I just love him, and I really loved him in Expendables. So yeah, I'm excited that he's in it.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you are excited.
Oh, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that.
I got you, boo thing.
I got you. I got you. Whatchamacallit it? I'm trying like on air, I'm trying to find this freaking like thing, but I feel like I should probably do that off air.
You're good. While you're in the middle of that, I will say I laughed today when I was at the college because you ever have somebody that like says something that just catches you off guard but makes you laugh? I was fixing a projector and it was like one of the football guys, he's like limping by and he's like, I'm real sorry. He's like, I'm not trying to get in your way because he was walking across the projector, but he was going so slow because his leg was so hurt.
Yeah.
So I said, man, I go, you look like you're hurt and you're having a rough day. And he goes, at least someone's paying attention to me. And I was like, buddy.
It's like, why you gotta say that? That's so sad. Why you gotta make it so real?
And then he just started laughing as he walked away. I was like, pulling my emotional heartstrings over here, sir.
So I sent you on Messenger the confession of that woman.
Yes.
You gotta watch it. You don't have to watch the whole 12 minutes. It's the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Oh
but
my gosh.
I feel like this was totally unexpected for us to go in this direction.
We didn't run out of any topics. It all led into one. That's me and Tia. It's like, that's what we kept doing with the top 10. We'd be like, but another thing, and another thing,
and another one.
And we're like, oh yeah, and number 7 is.
That's why it's so cool doing like the coffee break things. I'm enjoying it, but I promise
I am too.
I promise that next coffee break we won't be as salty. I feel like we were a little salty. We should probably be a little bit more positive on the next one. So that's my fault. I take responsibility.
Let me just be, my blood is salt. It's like 99.9% salt.
Oh my god. But I think we're good. I think we've been running for an hour. What do you think, Brittany? You got anything else left to say?
I think I had a real good time talking about bullshit.
As my grandpa said, you want to say any syllables? No? Okay, good.
That
but
sounds like your grandpa.
I know. So Brittany, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, what you got going on next?
Gonna say you can always find me on Twitch at Itty Bitty Brit, where I've been streaming a lot of I played this game called Road 96. It's about teenagers trying to escape the country. They live in a dictatorship, and whether or not if it's wiser to stay in your country and try to make change or just try to get a better life across the border. And you make all these different decisions, but there's like 6 people that you run into constantly throughout it. But when you play different characters, you have different playthroughs, different decisions. I ended up running into a serial killer and didn't realize it because I was like, that guy's hot. I go, he's kind of scary. And I was like, I kind of love him. And once somebody was like, just wait. And the dude is like, apparently if I had done this wrong, somebody escapes his trunk, right? And he goes back there and kills them. He's like, hold on, I have a flat because he's a taxi driver and you're riding in his taxi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's very unhinged and he beats the guy to death with like a crowbar or something, gets back in the car. And in this time, by the way, you can choose to run away. And if you run away, he's like, very clever, and kind of like lets you go and everything. But if you stay, he'll get back in the car and go, I've got good news and I have bad news. The good news is I fixed my flat. The bad news, I'm going to kill you. And then he instantly shoots you. Like if you stay in the car, like the whole game is just insane. It's so insane. It's so much fun though. It's so much fun. But besides that, you can find me on Twitter at ittybittyBrit0. I posted some picture, one picture. I went kayaking this like past weekend, found a natural spring. It was ice cold, like 40 degrees. You got in that water, your whole body went numb in like seconds. Like I'm not even joking. It was that cold. It was so cool though, literally. And also keep an eye out if you want to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Itty Bitty Brit. That way when I do start actually putting YouTube videos there, you will be the first to know.
I was gonna say, are you actually going to do it?
I have so much. Okay, this is my big thing right now. I'm doing a rebranding and a lot of my new branding stuff's coming in, and I kind of want to start the videos with the new stinger, the new transitions that lead into the video, and kind of that ending page screen. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to come in before I do it, which I could already be editing and just wait and then just go bloop, bloop, and then a thumbnail. But that would be smart, Tia. And my hair color is not the right color for that.
Oh my God. Don't you do that. Don't you do that.
I'm
Brittany.
doing it. I'm doing it. I love excuses.
Oh my God. But everyone, please make sure that you check out Brittany. She's a very dedicated streamer who spends a lot of time trying to entertain you all. As for me, we got a lot going on at GVN. Did I mention that we have merch? Did I mention that we have merch?
Did you mention?
Did I mention? Please make sure that if you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, that you are subscribed. We have grown so much in the past, like 6 months alone, and that is amazing. There's so many awesome interviews that we have. We have amazing podcasts, GVN Talk, Figure It Out. We will do a top 10 at some point. We're just enjoying these coffee breaks so much, but yeah, make sure you check it out. Wednesdays we do the Marvel Cinematic Review. Right now we're reviewing the Disney Plus show called What If, which is phenomenal. Like, don't let the fact that it's animated sway you. It is amazing. Please make sure that you check out geek5snation.com. It has all of our reviews and our articles on news and all that. We are just like buzzing right now, and please make sure that you follow us on social media. We will be covering when Shang-Chi comes out. I have my review out right now, but we will be covering it as that comes out, as well as the Eternals, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, all that great shit. So please make sure that you are subscribed. Tell us what you thought about this week's coffee break. You can check out last week's coffee break as well. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.